Welcome back to the Halls of History, everyone. I am your host, Scott Hall. Hope all of you who celebrate Christmas had a great holiday and, of course, a great weekend and enjoyed watching some football. Now, you ready for the answer to the last trivia question? To review, if you remember yesterday, I talked about how players across the league for years have made major impacts for their teams and, of course, the NFL, who were either drafted very late or not picked at all and signed as rookie free agents. Now, my question for you was, who is the NFL's all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns among undrafted players? The answer? Antonio Gates, who came from Kent State. The same school that produced Hall of Famer Jack Lambert, picked in the second round of the 1974 draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Julian Edelman, a seventh-round selection by the New England Patriots in 2009. Two other undrafted players out of Kent who found great success in the NFL, Josh Cribbs and James Harrison. Antonio Gates, the future Hall of Famer, finished his amazing football career with 955 catches for 11,841 yards and 116 touchdowns. As far as undrafted players go, second in receptions is Wes Welker with 903. Rod Smith is second in yards with 11,389. And second in touchdowns is actually Don Hutson with 99. But if you go with players who entered the league after the draft began in 1936, second place belongs to Rod Smith with 68. The path to the National Football League for Antonio Gates was quite different than many other players, especially those who end up wearing the gold jacket. As Gates, he didn't play college football. Gates originally attended Michigan State, where he was planning to play football for Nick Saban and basketball for Tom Izzo, a couple of legendary coaches. There haven't been a ton, but there have been some successful athletes who excelled on the gridiron and the hardwood. Tony Gonzalez, Jimmy Graham, Terrell Owens, Julius Peppers, and Donovan McNabb come to mind. Not to mention Charlie Ward, who won the 1993 Heisman Trophy as the quarterback for Florida State, and then was drafted in the first round by the New York Knicks in the NBA draft. Ward played for over a decade in the association. A few other players who made the jump from only playing college basketball to the NFL were Marcus Pollard, Darren Fells, Rico Gathers, and Mo Alley Cox. But back to Gates. While at Michigan State in the fall semester, when Coach Saban found out that Gates wanted to play basketball as well, Saban wanted him to just play football. How about that? Saban knowing what he potentially had. So Gates ended up leaving Michigan State as the Detroit native really wanted to play basketball. So he transferred to Eastern Michigan in the spring and averaged just over 10 points and a team-leading 7.4 rebounds per game over 18 contests and 15 starts. Gates lasted just 1 year in Ypsilanti as the Eagles went 8-10 during his time, and the team changed coaches. Gates then transferred to the College of the Sequoias in Visalia, California, which is about 80 miles north of Bakersfield. He did not play basketball or football and instead focused on his schoolwork for the 2000-2001 academic year. Gates was then drawn back east by Coach Stan Heath, who was an assistant coach with Tom Izzo at Michigan State and was now the head coach of the Kent State Golden Flashes. Little odd note for you. Coach Heath is now currently the head coach at Eastern Michigan, getting hired there in 2021. So Gates traveled back to the Mid-American Conference and enrolled at Kent State to begin the 2001-2002 season. And his presence was felt on the court immediately. Gates led the Flashes in rebounds with just over 8 a game and tied for the team lead in scoring with 16 per contest. Kent State had an incredible year as Gates teamed up with All-MAC performer Trevor Huffman to take the Golden Flashes to a MAC title, a team record 21-game winning streak, an overall record of 30-6, and all the way to the Elite Eight during March Madness. In the MAC title game victory, Gates scored 16 points, grabbed 8 boards, and had 4 assists in taking down Bowling Green. Rolling on from there, Kent State, the number 10 seed, defeated 20th ranked and number 7 seed Oklahoma State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Gates put up 13 points and had 4 boards. In the second round, the Golden Flashes had another upset over number 2 seed and 8th ranked Alabama 71-58. Gates scored 18 points and had 9 rebounds. In the Sweet 16, it was 9th ranked and 3rd seeded Pittsburgh who was upset 78-73 in overtime. Gates played 43 minutes, scored 22 points, added 8 boards, 4 assists, 1 block. The win over the Pitt Panthers was the 21st straight win, as that magical run came to an end in the Elite Eight in an 81-69 loss to 5th-seeded Indiana. Gates still scored 22 points and pulled down 8 boards, playing all 40 minutes. He was named to the NCAA All-South Regional Team, averaged almost 19 points and 7 boards in those 4 postseason contests. So Gates was now headed to his final collegiate season in 02-03, but he was about to go through another coaching change. Stan Heath was headed to Arkansas after his one season at Kent. However, Jim Christian, who was an assistant with Kent State the season before, he took over the reins of the program. And Gates dominated his way through his senior campaign, and I got to witness one of those games in person. I was a student at Marshall University and working with the sports staff for the campus radio station 88.1 WMUL-FM. Kent State came to Marshall on February 25th, 2003, and I was sitting courtside as play-by-play for WMUL, and my color analyst was Alex Reed. And actually here, I have the Kent State Media Guide from that 02-03 season with Gates right here on the cover. It's a pretty nice souvenir to have, huh? We watched Antonio Gates do pretty much whatever he wanted to on the court that day. Marshall could not stop him. And here's a story for you from the broadcast of that game. Alex and I could see Gates getting away with just a little push-off a lot of times against the defender, but it was not called for it. Now, Alex is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and so here we were discussing Gates' ability to get away with a subtle push-off and create that space. So I said to Alex, well, as a Cowboys fan, you would know something about push-offs because Michael Irvin was an expert. Alex looked at me, smiled, and said, you had to go there, huh? We got a laugh out of it. But now here we were comparing a Pro Football Hall of Fame receiver's ability to create the separation he needed to make plays to Gates, who we would soon be watching have his own Hall of Fame football career, although we obviously didn't know it at the time. So back to that February evening in the Cam Henderson Center, Gates finished the game against the Herd with 23 points. He hit 13 of 18 from the free throw line, pulled down 11 rebounds, including 8 on the offensive glass, 4 assists, and 2 steals. So Gates had a great game, but fortunately for Marshall, the Herd was able to stop the rest of the flashes and had a great day shooting, hitting 60% from the field, pulled out the 80-67 win. Now, Kent State did win its home meeting and the first round of the MAC tournament against the Herd that season. Gates averaged just over 20 points a game that year, only the 5th player in program history to do so. He led the Golden Flashes with 619 points, 233 rebounds, and 45 steals, and was 3rd in assists with 125. Kent State's season wasn't quite as successful as the year before. They didn't win the MAC tournament and received an invite to the NIT, falling to the College of Charleston in the first round to end the season. So, in 2 years in Kent, Ohio, Gates finished his time as the 21st player in team history to tally over 1,000 points. He recorded 1,195, ranked 12th all-time, averaged 18.1 points per game, good for 4th all-time, and just under 8 boards a contest, tied for 8th in Kent State history at the time of his graduation. And Gates now had a decision to make. As a 6'4" power forward, he was viewed as a tweener and possibly a little too small for the NBA, despite what he had shown in his career. With this knowledge in mind from the NBA scouts, Gates arranged for a workout in front of NFL scouts. Now remember, he did not play college football. He was a star at Central High School in Detroit, but he was now 4 years removed from that time. His athleticism was undeniable, and so there were a reported 19 teams that reached out to Gates for a tryout. 6'4" and 250 pounds may be small for a power forward in the NBA, but it is a great size for a tight end. He did his first workout for the San Diego Chargers, who were so impressed that they signed him immediately as an undrafted free agent. The rise of Antonio Gates on the football field as a game-changing tight end happened rather quickly. 2003 was a bad year for the Chargers with a 4-12 record. However, Gates went from 3rd string to starter by the end of the year. His first reception came in Week 4 against the Raiders, scored his first touchdown in a win over Minnesota in Week 10, and then tallied his first 100-yard game against the Packers in Week 15. He caught at least one pass over the final 6 games and finished with 24 receptions for 389 yards, averaging over 16 yards per catch and 2 scores. Many NFL analysts were calling for Gates to have a breakout season in 2004 with Drew Brees and possibly the rookie Phillip Rivers at quarterback. Not sure how many really knew what was coming, though. Gates' first game in 2004, 8 catches for 123 yards in a win over the Texans. The second-year tight end exploded onto the scene with 81 receptions for 964 yards and a tight end record 13 touchdowns. He tied the old record of 12 with a 72-yard score against the Browns in Week 15 and then broke it the following week at the Colts. The original mark of 12 touchdowns in a season by a tight end was set by Hall of Famer Mike Ditka in 1961, tied by Jerry Smith in 1967, Todd Christensen in 83, and Wesley Walls in 99. Gates' record has since been passed by none other than Rob Gronkowski, who scored 17 in 2011. Gates came along at a time when the tight end position was really starting to be viewed as a consistent offensive weapon. There had always been great receivers at the spot, of course, going back to Ditka. Now, I'm not going to give you a complete history here of the tight end, but the 1990s were beginning to see more and more catches and touchdowns going to these incredible athletes. Think Shannon Sharpe, Tony Gonzalez, and Ben Coates. Now in the new millennium, you get Antonio Gates. The former basketball tweener was constantly having broadcasters, analysts, and probably coaches comparing his basketball skills to what he was doing on the field, shielding defenders, boxing them out, and making a lot of catches just look like he was pulling down a rebound. He could jump, twist, and turn in the air because, hey, how many times do you have to adjust your body in midair as a basketball player? Now, I already read you some of those amazing career totals, but think about some of these as well. Gates had 4 games of 10 or more catches, and 96 out of his 236 games played with at least 5 catches. He tallied 21 100-yard games and had 2 1,000-yard seasons. Gates caught a touchdown in 92 games and had 2 or 3 21 times. He had 4 seasons of double-digit touchdowns and posted at least 7 scores in 11 of his 16 seasons. Gates tied the all-time tight end's career record of 111 set by Tony Gonzalez with his final score of the 2016 season. He played 2 more years, scoring 5 more times, put the mark at 116. Now Gronkowski, provided he completely stays retired, finished with 92. The closest active tight end is Travis Kelce of the Chiefs with 69, and he's climbing those charts fast. I remember being very excited when I saw that Gates had signed as a rookie free agent because I got to see his athletic ability up close, and he was a lot of fun to watch. By the end of his rookie season, I did believe he could be a great player. However, I don't think I really knew that he would go on to be one of the best at his position of all time. Gates was voted to 8 straight Pro Bowls from 2004 to 2011. He was a 3-time first-team All-Pro and a 2-time second-team All-Pro, as well as being voted to the Hall of Fame All-Decade Team of the 2000s. Now, he will become eligible for the first time for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2023. I believe, my opinion, that he should be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Now, what do you think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. NFL teams spend so much time and money in scouting college talent in the hopes of finding the right players. But sometimes players can still slip through the cracks. Remember, there are only 7 rounds and generally fewer than 260 picks, while there are hundreds of draft-eligible players. There is an amazing list of undrafted players who became stars and Hall of Famers. Willie Brown, Emmett Thomas, Warren Moon, Joe Perry, Donnie Shell, Jim Otto, Sam Mills, John Randall, Kurt Warner, and Drew Pearson. Then add in others like Rod Smith, Wes Welker, Adam Vinatieri, London Fletcher, Jason Peters, and Adam Thielen. The list goes on and on. According to StatHead.com, since the draft began in 1936, there have been 219 undrafted players in the NFL who played at least 150 games in their careers, and 709 to log at least 100 games played in an NFL uniform. And how about this? There are 324 undrafted players who have played at least 10 games for their respective teams this season. So for those of you out there looking to live out your dreams, you don't have to be the first one picked. Just make sure you take advantage of the opportunity that you earned. Okay, now I am going to do something a little different here now on the Halls of History. Instead of doing the standalone video the day before with the trivia question, I will now be asking the next trivia question at the end of this video, then return in a couple days with the answer, more stories, stats, figures, and then end that with the very next trivia question that will go in to the following week. So, are you ready for the next piece of Halls of History trivia? Well, here we go. There have been so many great performances in the Super Bowl, whether it was throughout the entire contest, putting up amazing numbers, or coming through with a clutch drive, like that right up there that got me to be a big football fan, or a big play when it was really needed. But who was the first player to rush for over 150 yards in a Super Bowl? Here's a hint for you. He was involved in one of the greatest plays in NFL history. Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below and tune in for my next episode to find out the answer only on the Halls of History. Thanks for watching.